I have several different questions. I guess one of the ones most uppermost in my mind.
That's the one we want.
Okay. And what I've wanted to ask in the past, it's so interesting to me, and listening to you and these CDs have completely shifted my life and has turned from, just into a life that I've manifested that I never would have dreamed of or possible so many years ago when I was young.
Yeah.
And
And yet you dreamed it without even knowing you did, because when you know what you don't want, you know what you do want. And so you weren't in sync with it, so you couldn't articulate it, you couldn't describe it, and you weren't expecting it yet, but you were creating it.
And I was so
good point. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Don't you think that was a good point?
Yeah. 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 And I was so far from it, but being able to line up with it has been. Yeah. The part that hangs me up or confuses me some, and it goes into politics and about we are creators indeed, and if our reality is a reflection of where we are, then why are things, and you said, it's divisive and there's more haves and have-nots, but in a way, why vote? One of the questions I wanted to ask Esther and Jerry was well, then if we create our reality, why bother to vote? Or because
you're casting your votes vibrationally all of the time.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
and those vote, when you cast a vote from a place of alignment, it's a very influential vote. When you cast your vibrational vote from a place of discontent, it just becomes part of the mess. You see. So you vote vibrationally in the most effective way by making lists of things that you appreciate about. One of the things that Esther's been doing, she's been drawing a spiral, a vortex, but a spiral on a piece of paper. And then she starts on the inside with things that are easy to feel good about. And then the momentum just picks up. And she found herself the other day, it surprised her as the word government was written. In other words, she's starting with all of the things she loves, like the gardens and the plants and the birds and the hummingbirds and technology and her computer and all of the systems that bring her such comfort. And she's just writing and writing hundreds of words, tiny little writing on this, writing, and all of a sudden she wrote government. She thought, oh, that was a surprise. It was an inspiration that came, but there's so much about government. There's so much about that. In other words, think about highways and systems and things that you have such ease as a result of it. There's so much about government to appreciate. And so cast your appreciative votes in that way. And while there's plenty about government to complain about, but there's plenty about everything to complain about. But why would you want to activate the things that you're complaining about and then throw so much discord into the vibration that you separate yourself from source? So now instead of looking at the world through the eyes of alignment, see, that's what happened to Esther. She hooked us in with her appreciation, and then she started seeing the world through our eyes and found herself writing things that she didn't really think she wanted to write. But when you're looking at the world through the eyes of source, through the eyes of unconditional love and well-being, it's a good place to be.
So if I can just do that from a vibrational level, does that mean I never have to vote again? Or, it's perplexing to me.
Well, here's this will help you. Get on your high-flying disc and then vote. Get on your high-flying disc and then eat. Get on your high-flying disc and then make love. Get on your high-flying disc and then take a walk. Get on your high-flying disc and then, and then, and then. So get happy and then. Set the mood and then. In other words, because most people are voting to try to prevent things or to try to strong-arm things or in order to try to control things. Well, how's it working out? In other words, your politics is really an exaggerated example of the vibrational discord of the individuals within the politics. And that pretty much includes everyone.
It's so discordant. My partner in life.
It's not completely discordant. It is contrast, which is producing desire. Yeah. It is the basis of expansion. In other words, when the founding fathers were writing their beginning statements, that when you read back on them, knowing what you now know, and having come into vibrational harmony with the source within you as much as you have, when you read those documents, you have to feel the alignment that they felt when they wrote them. There's just no getting around it. But they weren't living them. It was inspired documents that they were still making their way to. You're making your way to it. It's an illusion, and it's a flawed premise that your government was at one time perfect and has been eroding ever since. It's been in the state of becoming. And the contrast that is part of it is part of the perfection of its becoming. If you can accept that, you see, factions of people not happy where they are, wanting to blame other factions of people, is exactly the conversation we just had with our 21-year-old friend just now. In other words, you never get anywhere until you accept that you are the creator of your reality. And if we were standing in your physical shoes, we would appreciate government for the part that they play, but we would not hold them responsible or hostage for the well-being that you're looking for. It's not going to come to you through government. It's going to come to you through alignment, you see.
So if I'm involved in, that was great, thank you. Yeah. So if I'm involved in relationships, like my significant other is at the opposite spectrum that I am, and we can't talk about this so much. And another good friend that I enjoy,
That's the perfect relationship.
I get these emails that are so, I mean, it's so perfect in so many ways, but I get these emails from friends who are, I mean, we have a good relationship, they're peaceable, but they're so hateful. And I opened and it's just like...
The other day, 8-year-old grandson Luke wanted to know what irony is. And we would like to say to him and to all of you that irony is offering a vibration that attracts something you don't want. In other words, reading those emails, participating in, so it would be like, Esther laughs. She finds irony in teaching happiness in a moment that she's not happy. That's irony to her. That nothing matters to her more than the teaching and the spreading of happiness. And in a moment when she's choosing to focus in a way that she's unhappy, that's irony, isn't it? In other words, contradiction to your own intentions. And so, yeah, there are a lot of people that still believe that the path to their happiness is by pushing hard against someone else. And so they find someone or something, some party, some person within a party to push hard against. And you said it, the hatefulness in their correspondence indicates how much that is not working for them. It's like the biggest of flawed premises. I will find this thing that I do not like, and I will push so hard against it, I will obliterate it. But there is no obliteration. There's only an amplification of it. And then a greater reason to push harder until their hatred, they don't hate Obama. They don't hate Democrats or Republicans. What they hate is their own misalignment that they're perpetuating through their hate. That's what they hate. They hate not being who they are. They hate the opposite of clarity. They hate the opposite of love. They hate the opposite of well-being. They hate disallowing who they are in that moment. And they're trying so hard to find somebody to pin it on. And they will feel such relief in the discovery that it is their own doing that is disallowing it. You see. So a loving email might be a loving response to an email like that.
That was my first reaction. Was I wanted to email him and say, please take me off your list. I don't want this in my inbox. And then I thought, that's too resistant. I just wanted.
Well, what you could say is, your very well thought out correspondence to me gave me much to think about. You reminded me how much I want alignment, how much let's speak in terms that they can understand. You remind me how much I love this country, how much I love this planet, how much I love this world, how much I crave harmony, how much I want to be a perpetuator of well-being, how much I love love. how much I want to feel good. Thanks for sending this to me, because you activated within words they can understand. Because in reading it, I felt the opposite of everything that I want to feel, which is helpful to me. Which is helpful to me. Because I believe with everything that I am that I can't know what I do want unless I know what I don't want. So in fact, I think that knowing what I don't want and therefore knowing what I do want is the first step in a being of any value. And you've helped me. Thank you so much for this clarifying step one. Between now and the next time we talk, I'm going to have taken a couple of other steps. I'm going to focus on solutions instead of problems. And I'm going to find the well-being that I'm looking for. And I don't know, something about reading this just made me feel something so powerful. And for some reason, I have the impulse to say it to you. I hope you can understand it in the spirit in which I am offering it to you. You just reminded me how much I want to feel good. And somehow, I had a sort of epiphany that made me accept that it's an inside job. And I think about how much of my life I was trying to get things I couldn't control under control before I could be happy, and I never could get happy. And finally I figured out, when I stopped trying to control things I can't control, I got a shot at happiness. Thanks for that, friend. Your friend, with all my love.
Yeah.
And you mean every bit of that. There's not one bit of irony in that. There's not one bit of sarcasm in that. There's not one bit of one-upsmanship in that. There's not one bit of ulterior motive in that. There's not one bit of passive aggressiveness in that. There's not one bit of disservice in that. It's all service, 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 service. I want love, and I want it for me, and I want it for you, and I vow from this moment forward to be a perpetuator of love if it means I have to move to Santa Fe to get it.
Which I did, yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Very good.
Really good.